Thank you very much, Mark. Welcome to this virtual Southern Rural Committee that's being conducted with members and officers in various locations. Before the meeting starts, I would like to explain how proceedings will work and confirm that members and officers are in attendance. So when I call your name, would you mind please indicating that you can hear, preferably by speaking to me? Councillor Barnard?
I'm here.
Thank you. Councillor Bishop?
Yes.
Councillor Davies?
Yes.
Councillor Deakin Davies?
Yes, I'm present.
Councillor Frost?
Present.
Oh, you've got a nice echo there, Councillor Frost. Councillor Moody?
At present.
Oh, Councillor Nash?
Yes, present.
Councillor North has offered his apologies. Councillor Strong?
Present.
And Councillor Tyler?
Present.
And officers, we've got myself, Hilary Deneen, and Claire Morgan. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. Claire Morgan, can you?
Yes, present.
Excuse me. Thank you. So the meeting is being live streamed on the council's YouTube channel. If the live streaming fails, then the meeting will have to adjourn and we will wait for a reasonable period for people to connect. And if they can't do so, then the business will have to be conducted at a later date. If the meeting becomes incorrect, again, we will wait for members to reconnect. And yet again, if we cannot be restored in a few moments, then the meeting will be adjourned and the business will be undertaken at another time. Only members present for the entire debate and consideration can vote. Please remember that your video and audio is on, so please ensure your electronic devices are muted and activate the mute button on your tablet when you are not speaking. So you indicate you wish to speak, use the raise hand button in participants. So at the bottom there's a participant section and there's an option to raise your hand. Do not please use the reactions buttons. Voting, if the committee decides to take a vote, this will be via the green tick for yes, red cross for no, and blue raised hand signal for abstain. Details of how members voted will not be kept or minuted unless a recorded vote is requested. In the event of a tied vote, the chair will have a casting vote. So now on to the meeting proper. The first item is to elect a chair for 2021 for the Southern Rural Committee. Can I ask for nominations for the chair, please?
Yeah, I nominate Claire Strong.
Okay, can I have a seconder for Claire, please?
I'll second that nomination.
Was that George? Sorry. Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, there are no other nominations. So Councillor Strong, you are chair of the Southern Rural Committee for the year 2020-21. And I will leave it up to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much to the committee, and welcome to the first meeting of Southern Rural for the new civic year. Going back to our agenda for tonight, we have item 2 on the agenda is apologies for absence, and as Hilary has already mentioned, we've had apologies from Councillor Sam North. So moving now on to item 3 of the agenda, that is the election of vice chair for this committee. And I would like to move from the chair that Councillor Faye Frost is our vice chair. Could I have a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Moody. Are there any other nominations? As there are no further nominations, I've got nobody putting their hand up. In that case, Faye, you are duly vice chair of this committee. Moving on now down our agenda to item 4, notifications of other business. I have had none. Then moving down to item 5, which is the chair's announcements. As usual, to councillors, if you know that you have a pecuniary interest or any interest, please make sure that you declare it to us, either at the start of an agenda item or somewhere through, if you suddenly realise. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else I want to draw people's attention to. We do have, though, for this meeting, we have 2 members of the public who have come to the meeting who are going to present to us as they have grant applications. So, just as a reminder as well that this meeting is being audio recorded as well as filmed, and we are live streaming at the moment. I haven't checked on YouTube to see how many people we've attracted, but I do hope it is more than 1. Other than that, I think there's nothing else I need to raise to members' attention. So I will move then to public participation. And I said we have 2 items here, 2 members of the public who have come to our meeting. So thank you very much for them for coming along. And the first who's going to make a presentation is from the Young People's Puppet Theatre. So I'm very pleased to welcome Caitlin Duchesnes. I hope I've got it right this time. So if you would like to now switch your camera and microphone on.
Yeah.
Welcome to the meeting, and you have 5 minutes, and then hopefully if there are any questions, you'll stay and take questions if any members have some. So over to you.
Absolutely, thank you. I sent in some images that I don't know if you've seen being circulated beforehand, or if those you'll be able to see them now. She says hopefully.
You should have them as an additional item on your agenda, councillors, on your
Happy
tablets.
days. Well, I'll direct you through those. If you could find those, that would be fab, because I'm going to ask you, there is a video embedded in it, and I will ask you to watch that at some point. So yes, good evening. I'm Caitlin Duchesnes. I'm the administrator and the senior project leader for the Young People's Puppet Theatre. We're an arts education charity that we've been operating across Hertfordshire since 2014, and we've run about 40 projects across the county in that time with local children and young people. We're currently planning a project involving 25 children aged 9 to 11 in Breachwood Green in Kings Walden, which is why I'm here tonight. The project will be based on our award-winning projects to date. Each child, if you have a look at the first slide, will design and make their own marionette from scratch, including sculpting heads, hands and feet, and sewing costumes. They will then move on to the images on the second slide, collaborating with classmates on set design and building, painting backdrops, creating complex props. We then have a look at the next slide. They will then rehearse and perform their show, taking all roles from voice acting and puppetry to lighting, sound, and stage management. They will also be leading puppetry workshops for younger children and older people in their community, passing on the skills they've learned on the project. And if you flip to the next slide, you'll see some older photos from productions we've done across Hertfordshire in previous years. As you can see, they're visually stunning, especially when you consider that everything on those slides and on that slide was designed and built by 10 and 11-year-olds. So why do we do this? Simply put, because it changes lives. In 2019, we ran an impact study in collaboration with a team of researchers from the University of Hertfordshire who tracked 6 classes of Year 6 children across the year, monitoring their social and their creative development. The research team found that every child on the project develops a huge range of creative skills, but also a huge range of transferable skills, including teamwork, confidence, and resilience. And these play a key role in preparing them for the transition to secondary school. This is particularly important for disadvantaged children, children who don't speak English at home, who have learning difficulties, who come from poorer households, or have other challenges at home. The research team found that these children benefit the most. To see that impact in person, I'd like you to direct you to the video on the next slide, under where it says Making a Difference, which is about 1.5 minutes. I'm hoping it'll work if you just watch it.
I'm not sure that they'll be able to watch it on their
No worries, in which case
tablets, so they can watch it later.
That's fine.
Okay.
You go have a look at that later. It's great fun. It was from a project we did further south in the county last year, where I came into school one day at the end of the project. We'd just done the show, and I was the project leader on that one. And the staff room was buzzing. He's crying. He's crying. Have you heard? He's crying. And I went, a child is crying. Yes, I understand. They're going to be sad. It's the end of the project. They're taking their puppet home today. Lovely. And it took the SENCO, the Special Educational Needs Coordinator, pulling me aside and going, no, you don't understand. This child has never shown any emotion like this. I've never seen him like this. The child's autistic, has severe learning and communication difficulties, and doesn't really do interaction with other people. And I kind of knew that about him, but he'd been so enthusiastic all year, I thought nothing of it. But the buzz across the staff room for the fact that this child, for the first time in his life, cared about something enough to participate, and then was really upset when it ended. They'd just never seen him like that before. So it was a lovely moment for me as a project leader, but also for the whole school kind of teaching community, that they saw what an impact it had made on him. Projects like this are going to be particularly important now as children return to school in the wake of coronavirus. We have been doing some teaching online, but we expect from September that Year 6 at least will be back to school. Every child finds the transition to secondary school difficult. For the children going into Year 6 next year, they've had that compounded by the isolation at home during coronavirus. They won't be used to team working. They won't be used to using communication skills with their peers in the same way. And for children who struggle to access online learning or really struggle due to their disadvantages at home during lockdown, it's going to be a really, really tough year. And so we're determined to reach as many children as we can next year to help them through that transition. I think this project really backs up many of the criteria in the Council's Objective 2 about building thriving and resilient communities. It's innovative. We are the only organisation in the country offering this kind of project. We know of nobody else working on this scale or with this depth of impact. It's designed specifically to spark creativity in local people. It will be led by a local project leader with local children creating a project for their local community and sharing their skills with local people. It will engage them with that community and create lasting skills and community links between younger and older. It will also have the greatest impact on those disadvantaged children who need it most at a time when they need that support the most. With your support, we could make this project and its benefits a reality for the children of Breachwood Green, and I hope you'll be able to support us in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. I'll just say from the chair, actually looking at those pictures, it's lovely to see all those faces with the concentration of working together in those teams and then see all the happy smiles. It really does look a very, very worthy project. As you probably realise, we don't actually get round to doing our grant award until slightly later in the meeting. So I'll now open it up to the other councillors for questions. Are there any questions? Please raise your hands. Although, Hilary, I can't see the raised hand button.
I can't find it. My hand is raised, but I can't find how to get back to this one. And I press the button. So there we are.
Under
Are
participants, the raised hand.
Sorry?
Well,
It's under participants if you're on a laptop.
so, yeah, but I haven't got that either.
Then we need Mark.
I haven't got the raised hand. But anyway, if anybody would like to raise their hands, if you could do it in the old-fashioned way.
Here we are. Here we are. Now,
You go on more, where there's 3 dots, it says more, and you hover over that, the waved hand is on there.
Oh, there it is. Look. Hey. Am I still?
Okay.
Am I still?
Yes, Councillor Barnard.
Oh, fine. Okay. Thank you very much, Chair, and congratulations. I see this project is for Breachwood Green. Is it solely for Breachwood Green, or is there a likelihood that it will be taken across the area of Southern Rural? And if so, how many schemes are there likely to be? How much do they cost?
So this year we are just planning to work with Breachwood Green. Our projects are special in that they go for depth of impact rather than range. So we'd much rather work with a smaller group of children and make sure that every child in that truly benefits, rather than being able to give kind of one-off interactions where you don't really know what impact they have to a wider group of children. That said, we'd also very much like to use this project as a kind of flagship one for the area, and to invite other local schools and other local teachers and other, community people who kind of lead community groups in, because it would be lovely to do more work across Southern Rural Hertfordshire. It'd be lovely.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Forgive me, because I'm a bit of a philistine when it comes to downloading stuff and everything else. So I've got all the paperwork except the little bit that you sent through. So I don't actually know how much you're applying for, and forgive me for that.
At the moment, we're applying for £1,500, just over £1,500. The full cost of the project is about £6,500, which includes everything from sending in our very high-tech specialised equipment in. Our stages are provided by Brilliant Stages, who used to be based in Hitchin and have since moved north to Wakefield. They provide stages for any musician who's touring, who's big at the moment. They provided stages for Take That and for Lady Gaga and for One Direction and in lots of huge bands. And they gave us our first stage for free as a kind of outright social responsibility thing. So we bring in this very high-tech equipment. We pay an external specially trained project leader to go in for the year. And that's all within the 6,500. We've had a grant in the meantime from the Paul Hammond Foundation, which will cover just under half of the project costs. So we're...
Fine. Yeah, thank you for that. Chair, if I might just have a quick supplementary, and I'm sorry if I'm taking over here. You mentioned that you've got just over half of the amount that you require from another fund. Have you applied to, for instance, the Luton Airport Community Fund or any other pots at all?
Yes, we've got an application pending with the Hertfordshire Community Foundation for our work across Hertfordshire, some of which would go into this project. At present, as far as I know, Luton Airport isn't taking applications because they closed for coronavirus. I spoke with one of the representatives from the Bedfordshire Luton Community Foundation a few weeks ago who advised me to check next month. So I will be doing that, but at present we have not written that application.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I now have Councillor Terry Tyler wishing to ask a question.
Hello. Actually, it's brought me interest really as a big fan of when I was a child of Thunderbirds, Stingray, and all the rest of these things. I was just wondering how you got involved with Jamie Anderson.
Jamie was, I think, our original chair of trustees. It was a lawyer, and I think Jamie's productions firm worked with their law firm. It was a kind of a friend thing. But he came to see a show that we did near where he was living in Oxford a few years back. We have worked outside Hertfordshire, but most of our work's here. And we did a one-off project near there and he was hooked, understandably. And he's been a huge supporter of it. Yes, for those who didn't catch the Thunderbirds reference, Jamie is the son of Jerry Anderson, creator of Thunderbirds, and he's on our board and hugely supportive of what we do, which is lovely.
Thank you.
Okay, and I have a question from Councillor Faye Frost.
Hello. Sorry,
I'm going to walk away.
It might be the YouTube channel streaming at the same time.
No, that's fine. I think this is a really good project, and it's really good to hear that you're doing something in the villages, because we cry out for things like this. One question I do have is, what is the need for such high-tech equipment if it's aimed at 9 to 11-year-olds? Like, why do you need such stages that Lady Gaga has used?
I possibly wasn't clear about that. They're built by the same people, so they're they are built specifically for use by primary school children, but they're not. They are built, you know, to a spec that could be used professionally. We do that because for us, the absolute best moment of my job as a project leader, and for all of us who go into schools, is watching the parents at the end of the show when they come out of what looks like a kind of semi-professional show and they go, oh yeah, that was my child. And then you get the tears and then the teachers start crying and it's great fun. And the children are just so proud. We found that by giving them this really high-tech equipment, they learn more and they achieve more both than they realise and that their parents realised they could. And it's that boost of confidence and that boost of kind of boost of their aspirations makes them consider other careers, you know, look outside what they thought they could do. And we think that's a really important part of what we do.
Sorry, Chair, just one supplementary. Is just so I'm clear, is the stage reusable? Like, is it built once and then you reuse it? You don't have to hire it or, you know, have it changed and pay more towards it each time?
No, absolutely. So we have 3 stages that we own outright, and we divide the cost of buying a new stage by how many productions we think it's going to do. So the cost of a stage is, I think, about £20,000, but we know it's going to be used at least 20 times before it even needs maintenance. So that's why in the budget I sent you, it's only costed £1,000 in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. Those that have got their hands up, perhaps they put them down again because you had to have asked questions. As there are no further questions, just like to thank you, Caitlin, from the Young People's Puppet Theatre. And as I say, we will be considering the grant later in the meeting. You are most welcome to stay with us until we do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
So if you'd like to turn your camera off and mic off, and I'm now going to invite Trevor Ward, who's from Offaly Recreation and Community Centre, to turn his camera on and unmic himself. And there you are. if you would like to make your presentation to the committee now, Trevor, thank you.
Hello, thank you everybody for inviting me to your meeting. And considering my application, just some feedback really. I took over looking after the grounds of the club last year, and it was maintained by two elderly gentlemen, both in their 80s. Unfortunately, one of them passed away, and the other fella retired. And the grounds were being left and no one was cutting it, etc. So I've been involved with the club for quite a number of years. About 12 years ago, I left the committee. Before that, I was on the committee for 15 years. 9 years that was as vice chairman. And it seemed to be doing okay. And it was time to, step down, let somebody have a crack at the whip. As it happened, there was no one taking on the responsibility of cutting the grass, and I decided to help them out. I'll do it for them. And I soon discovered the mower they use, which is quite a big ride-on free gang mower, was a bit of a death trap really. Nothing that is no safety features on it work at all. It doesn't stop. You have to physically turn it all off to stop it. The brakes don't work, etc. And it's almost 30 years old. And the grounds themselves, I mean, they're a great facility for everyone. We've got various football teams up there. We've got the tennis club. We've got the cricket club that I happen to be president of. And not only that, people just use it for general exercise. During this pandemic, which has really brought it to light, the amount of people using it just for their daily strolls, the elderly, dog walkers, etc. It's just, I'm amazed how many people actually do go up there. And we try and keep it nice. And hence we're looking to fund a new lawnmower to replace the old one. And I've done a lot of research. Some of you have seen the machine that I've decided would be better for us. And we just need to purchase something that's safe, doesn't require as much maintenance. As it happens, one of the old guys that used to help cut the grass has come out of retirement to help me. And he's one of these fellas that's very knowledgeable when it comes to tinkering about with machines and maintaining them. So it's well handy having him. And that's all I've really got to say. My presentation is pretty short because it is a lawnmower at the end of the day, and we've got to try and replace the old one as soon as possible. So that's pretty me done, really.
Okay, thank you very much, Trevor. Councillor Barnard, you've raised your hand. And you're on mute.
He's on mute.
How's that? Is that better?
We can hear you now. Thank you.
Dear. Sorry about that. Yeah, fine. Good evening, Trevor. First and foremost, I know Offaly Recreation Club, and I know that the old committee has now gone, and there's a new, very lively committee, and the place is turning around and becoming very popular. It's a very large area of grass for anybody who knows, surrounded by woods and footpaths and bridleways. So it's a place where people can go, can be safe, can be socially separated by the 2 meters or whatever it needs to be. And of course, it would be unusable if it wasn't cut. So I personally think that this is a very, very good project. And for that reason, you are aware that I have actually made a grant from my highways locality budget, not highways, councillors locality budget from Herts County Council. I hope that the Southern Rural tonight will join with the parish council and the county council in making this purchase possible. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Barnard. Anybody else with a raised hand? I'm looking on my screen. No, there isn't. In that case, if I can just thank you, Trevor, for coming along tonight. And as I said earlier about the other application, we will be considering it when we get into our next agenda item.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much.
If you could turn your camera off and mute yourself. Thank you very much. And then moving on, that takes us to item 7 of our agenda, which is grants and the community update. And I'd like to invite our officer, Claire Morgan, to present.
Thank you, Chair. If I direct members firstly to the finance part of the report, which is on page 12, item 10 on page 12, which outlines how much money you have to spend on grants at the moment. It's not an issue if you want to grant fund the 2 grants that have come this evening. You carried over quite a lot from last year's budget, and at the moment you carried over 6,482, and you have the budget this year of 8,700. So in total, you've got 15,182. If you agree both the grants that you've seen this evening, considering this evening, it's 3,533. If I go on, do you want to go on to the grant decisions, and then if anyone's got any other questions on the report, I can answer those.
Yes, I think if we go on to the grants that we've done, as you say, we had quite a healthy budget as we did have such a large carryover. We have had a couple of delegated spends that we did earlier in the year, which have come out again out of last year's monies, but we are still in a very fortunate position that we do have money that we have that's available for this committee to spend. So do you want to take us into the 2 applications we've had? Do the Young People Puppet Theatre first?
Young People's Puppet Theatre are requesting 1,533. Total cost of the project is 6,408. They've been very active in getting joint funding from other organisations. They've already got £1,000 just from donations, and they've got £1,000 grant application in with the Hearts Community Foundation, and 2,000 pending from the Beds and Luton Community Foundation. And the school itself are contributing £875. So I think this is a very worthwhile project, and obviously a very professionally run organisation as well. So if members would like to take a vote on if you agree with this grant or not.
Chair, do you want me to take you through the vote?
Yes, you can. I was actually going to say I'm quite happy to move from the chair that we grant the sum requested, which is £1,533. I would need a seconder, please.
Quite happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Moody. So,
Okay, so
would you like us to take us through the voting?
Okay, so I'll just clear everything to start with so that there's nothing showing to start with, because at the moment we seem to have a vote already. So if you would like to press either the green cross, the green tick for you agree, the red cross for you don't agree, or the blue hand, raise hand for abstain, please, and I will tell you what the end result is. Okay, so
Councillor Nash has got her hand up.
So Councillor Nash, can you not vote? I'll count you, Councillor Nash. So with Councillor Nash putting her hand up, you have 9 in favour. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Back to you, Claire.
Thank you, Chair. So the next grant application we're considering is the Opley Recreation and Community Centre. And again, very straightforward. This is for a lawnmower. Obviously, the recreation centre has been closed for a while during the COVID lockdown, so it means that they haven't had any income coming in, which means that, you know, in other circumstances, they may have been able to afford the lawnmower from their own reserves, but these are dwindling. And having the lawn properly looked after means that as all these activities gradually come back, then they're going to be ready and waiting for. Oh, sorry, Councillor Barnard.
Sorry.
So yes, it means that they're going to be ready as soon as as the government allow different activities to start up again, as it is happening at the moment, then they're going to be ready to relaunch the centre and the recreation field. So they are asking for 2,000. The lawnmower costs 6,700. They've already received 2,700 from the Oxford Parish Council, and Councillor Barnard has agreed to provide them 2,000 from his locality budget. So unless anyone has any questions, then perhaps I consider voting.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire. I have Councillor Barnard with his hand up. Councillor Barnard. And you're on mute.
You're still mute, David.
Right now?
Yeah.
I'd just like to strongly recommend approval of this grant.
So are you proposing £2,000?
Indeed I am, yes.
Happy to second that.
Sorry, Chair. I think David might be in a position where he's predetermined this because he's given his county grant, so it might be better if someone else proposed and seconded.
I'm happy to second.
You'd like to propose, and I'm very happy to second from the chair.
Vote. Would you prefer me not to vote on this one then, Chair?
Maybe abstain would be appropriate.
I think so. Okay, fine.
So we've had this £2,000 proposed from Councillor Frost. I have seconded it from the chair. I say I know the Offaly Recreation Ground very well, and the thought of those lovely manicured lawns looking like a field, I think, would be a tragedy. So I do hope that the committee will support this. So Hilary, would you like to take us through voting again?
Okay, let me just clear all the hands so that it's a fresh start. So yes, if you can again use your green tick for yes, red cross for no, blue hand for abstain. Thank you.
And I'm not sure what Councillor Nash is doing. I think she's got her hand up again.
Councillor Nash has got her hand up. So with Councillor Nash,
slightly out of camera with that one, with your right hand. Your left hand we can see.
with Councillor Nash, we have 7-4. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that is also the recommended sum is agreed. So thank you for that, members. So Claire, would you like to take us through the rest of your report?
Not much to add, really. The only other information on here, as Councillor Strong mentioned, some funding has been provided to the Nebworth COVID response team, who are doing amazing work in and around Nebworth, helping the local community through the lockdown, and those that are shielding and those that might need extra help with food provision. The authority as a whole now has a fund specifically to assist groups like this. So if you do know of any other groups in the villages that might need support, one of those is the Ickleford Community Larder, and they came with a grant to the grant panel last week. So hopefully they will be receiving some money. These grants are considered via the grant panel, the same one that does the capital grants and district-wide grants. And the way the panel works is that they can't make a decision on grant funding, but they make a recommendation to the relevant service director. But if you do know of any groups that might need funding from that grant pot, then please do direct them to speak to myself or one of the community engagement team. I have put a list of the activities that we currently know of that are happening in the southern rural area. But if you have any questions, then I'm happy to take those.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
I was going to say, do you want to have a quick pause, see if there's any questions so far? No.
No.
In that case, thank you very much, Claire, for your report. It's good to see that there is so much activity going on in rural areas and that the council has been able to support them outside of this committee and our funding as well. So just going back to the executive summary list, which was on page 5, and there we were just asked to consider the grant funding, which we've done, and just to endorse the actions being taken by the community officer for our area. So thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you.
Moving on then to item 8 of our agenda, which is ward and outside organisations members' reports. I was going to say actually to the members of the public, if you now you've heard us do our grant funding, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome, but I will not be offended if I suddenly notice that your boxes have disappeared.
I'd just like to say thank you very much.
Like I say, going on to item 8, ward and outside organisations members' report. Okay, so outside organisations members' reports. I know from my perspective, it's a bit quiet because organisations that one's going to, where they're either setting up and doing Zoom meetings. Some parish councils are doing that and other parish councils are not doing that. But other than that, all other organisations that I'm involved with, we have not been having meetings. So it's all very kind of quite quiet. Anybody got anything that they would like to raise, or anybody got any suggestions of things they would like to see on the agenda for forthcoming meetings?
I haven't raised my hand. Do I need to raise my hand on here?
No, you can. You go ahead, Councillor Barnard.
Okay, I know it's the old fly in the ointment, but fly tipping has really escalated in the area here. We were very lucky to get a beautiful video of some people emptying a van, and they will be prosecuted. And I found another one today, took photographs with the people's name and address in it. They will be prosecuted. The concern that I have is that we don't seem to be getting the support for our officers from the police. It is a criminal offence and the police should be assisting with the prosecutions. They're not doing so. They're just passing it across to our very overworked officers. And I know there is a certain amount of despondency at the moment. So that's one reason I would like to see the police come along and give us a report. And the other reason has just escaped me, but but most certainly, we would like them. Oh, I know. Gosh, the pandemic, if I can use the word in another sense, of drug dealing in our villages. It's absolutely rife. The police are totally aware of it. There are videos, there are cameras, there's absolutely everything. This information is given to them. They know about it. It's all through Offaly, it's through Breachwood Green, and we're seeing these little gas tablets pretty well everywhere now. The police are not doing anything about it. I would like them to come along and explain to us why. We're getting real hard times on Facebook and other media because nothing is happening, but it's the police who should be working on this one. Sorry, rant over.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barnard. Actually, just coming back on fly tipping, I did go to the policing setting the priorities for the rural areas meeting, which was held in Codicut quite a few months ago, which was this initiative that each of the areas, like either in the towns or the rurals, and the police were all there, they were answering questions, and the group as a whole set priorities of what they would like the police to focus on. And fly tipping was one of the priorities, plus another one was higher visibility of policing in the rural neighbourhoods, because again, I think it was quite strongly felt that if there was more police presence actually seen, it does mean that those that are trying to offend crimes will go somewhere else if they think they're going to be found out. But certainly I know we will have the police inspector who normally comes to a full council meeting, and I would expect once we get out of the lockdown or meetings that the rural policing group will have another one of their forum meetings, and I'm certain that all councillors are normally invited to go to those. I have to say I did wonder about how well they were actually advertised that the meetings were on. But certainly, if I'm going again, I will bring those two things up with them. Anybody else? Oh, Councillor Fayfrost.
Thank you, Councillor Strong. Actually, something you've just said has just sparked a question that we've had raised from some of our parish councillors. You said about lockdown on meetings. Just a quick question so I can feed it back to our village parish councils. Are we aware of how long it's likely to be until we can go back to formal meetings as in person? And is anyone aware of any guidance that says you can or cannot hold parish council meetings? Because at the moment there's we're being asked and I'm not 100% sure the answer to give, if I'm being honest.
I don't know if one of the officers would like to comment on that.
All I can say is that the I'm not going to say the name of the law, the law that was brought in, because it's longer than, it's the flexible meetings law, basically, allowed us to do the meetings by Zoom. Obviously, if people are going to have meetings, parish councils, then they need to abide by either the legal or the guidance given by the government, i.e. whether it's a 1 metre distance at the moment is the suggestion, out of doors. We don't know when the government's going to change that to be indoors, so we can't say when it's going to happen, but they could hold meetings via Zoom if they wished, or other platforms. It doesn't have to be a Zoom meeting, as councillors well know, it can be by another platform.
But my understanding is that if you actually want to physically meet, you cannot meet until, isn't it, after July the
4th of July. From the 4th of July, it's people can be at 1 metre distance. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. But only outside, not inside.
Yeah.
But, so that's
okay.
of course is an issue.
Okay.
So sorry, we don't know what's going to change.
I think that was my understanding, that if it was to be held inside,
Hillary, I think we've lost
the guidance I understood was that it had to be as many people that you want, but only from 2 households, which obviously means that indoor meetings can't be held at the moment.
That's exactly as I read it, yes.
Okay. Thank you. That just so I can give a little bit more of a clear answer to some of our parish councils when they come back and ask us, because we have had 1 or 2 that have said on July, the first few days of July, they will be holding meetings, and we did go back and say, I'm not sure you're allowed to do that.
No, I believe that the 1 metre, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the 1 metre rule of meeting more than 2 households, it's got to be outside.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Thank you for just clarifying that.
Okay, and I have Councillor Deacon Davis, Steve Deacon Davis.
Hello, thank you, Chair. As you and I have both been the Arts Council of North Hertfordshire warriors in the past, I've had 6 emails over the last 3 weeks from people saying, what are we doing to support the 2020 Year of Culture? So I'm interested to know, what are we doing anything? You're frozen.
I don't know, no. I'm not aware, and not being obviously in the administration, it would be maybe a question we ought to raise to the portfolio holder in Cabinet.
No, that's fine. I think the direction I'm coming from is that for persons that fall within the Southern Rural that contact me, and in my messaging, I'm going to say, yes, still is the Year of Culture. And that if you have an appropriate project that you think would need funding that will fit in with the guidance for the Year of Culture, then we'll be happy to look at it. But I just wondered if there was anything we were doing, like as it has been explained, there's a special COVID committee one. I just wondered, so I'll check with the portfolio holder. But I wanted to bring it up that it is in fact the Year of Culture, despite everything that we've got. And I think there'll be a small place in heaven for me from the Arts Council for just bringing that up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Deacon Davis. Okay. Is there anybody else that wishes to raise any us to discuss at our next meeting or beyond? No. In that case, it is now 2017. So I will call this meeting to a close and thank you for all attending and thank our officers as well. And see you all on the next Zoom call.